Are these the 10 things I'm not missing about Comic-Con? Ahoy hi everybody, and welcome to this video. And you'll have noticed there's question marks in the titles, and I've just queried in the intro there. Are these the 10 things I'm not missing about Comic-Con? Let me explain. When did I post it? Back in start of October, end of September, I posted a video of the 10 things I'm not missing about gigs. And in response to that, my good friend Craig Huntley said, we'd love to see you do a video about the 10 things you're not missing about Comic-Con. To which I responded, I'm not sure I can think of 10. And he gave me 10. So these are the 10 things he's not missing about Comic-Con. Do I agree? So his first thing, the smell. So what I'm guessing he's referring to here is at Comic-Con you tend to have thousands of people in a tight area all together, long days, normally summer, it's normally hot. A lot of the people who go there do fit the stereotype of nerds and maybe don't have the best personal hygiene, and therefore there are regularly recommendations before cons that people take deodorant, let me put it that way. There's a reason this isn't one of the things I'm not missing about I've got the list in the corner of my eye and I keep seeing the word gigs. There's a reason this isn't one of the things I'm not missing about Comic-Con. I have very limited sense of smell. I've got sinusitis, and as a result there's only certain ranges of smells that I can detect, and fortunately body odour isn't one of them. If I'm nose to armpit with somebody, then yes, I'm going to smell it, but by and large I don't really notice it. So personally, one of the things I'm not missing about Comic-Con is not the smell. Number 2, endless pop vinyl stores. Now I am with him on this one to an extent. I don't see the appeal in Funko Pops. I don't like them in any way. I don't even own the Prince ones, that's how much I don't like them. I just don't see the attraction of them. They all facially look exactly the same, more or less. They don't look like the characters, apart from costume. If I want a statue of some sort, then I want it to have a resemblance of some sort to the characters. You might notice up there I have some Buffy the Vampire Slayer bobbleheads. And also too, I've got a Buffy little statue, and then just slightly sideways on you might be able to see that's supposedly Keira Knightley as Elizabeth Swann in the Pirates films. It doesn't look like her, but it's enough, since it's the only real Keira doll available, to have it. I've also got, which you can't see, a few more Buffy statues, and I did have loads more there up in the loft because I ran out of room to display them. That's the sort of thing I like. Funko Pops do nothing for me, and over the last 5 years probably, the stall areas of the Comic-Cons have just got more and more pop. Sort of every other stall is probably selling pops. Yes, it's irritating to an extent. However, I don't really go to Comic-Con for the stalls. I tend to browse the stalls purely as a time killer if I'm waiting, and guests are on lunch, or if I'm between photo shoots but haven't got time to queue for an autograph or something like that, then I'll normally browse the stalls. But I very rarely actually buy anything except maybe some fudge, so it doesn't bother me that much. But maybe if there was more selection I might buy a bit more. But yeah, it's irritating, but I wouldn't say it's a thing that I don't miss from Comic-Cons. Number 3, he said endless talkers when meeting a guest. I'm not entirely sure if he means a person who's meeting the guest is spending ages with that guest, or whether it's people talking at you in the queue. I'm guessing he means the first one, because normally talkers in a queue is just a good way to kill the time, so I don't mind that, and I'm sure he wouldn't. So I'm guessing he means people hogging the guest, if you like. doesn't irritate me that much, the way I see it. This is your probably one opportunity to meet that person. If you've got a lot to say and you've got the chance, say it. You don't want to regret never having said it. There's, don't spend 10 minutes with them unless they're quiet, in which case it won't be irritating anybody else anyway. I mean, I've had long chats with some guests because I've been the only person there. Callum Blue, the actor at Collectomania, we chatted for more than 5 minutes, certainly, but there was nobody else waiting to meet him, so we just had a laugh and a nice chat. If it's a really busy guest, you're not going to get that chance to chat with them anyway. You're going to be moved on quickly. But, I mean, as long as you're not taking the piss, I don't mind that. Number 4, the fans who bring 10 things to sign and take an age to sign as they're all posters and in tubes. Again, sorry Craig, but at the end of the day, they've as much right as anybody else. Yes, it would be handy if they got everything ready beforehand and then, took them away to put them away. So yes, it is a bit of an irritant if they stood there taking everything out. But the way I see it, as long as, if I'm close enough to the front of the queue for that to be an irritant, then I know I'm going to get my autograph anyway. So another 2-3 minutes while they're faffing about doesn't really bother me that much. I go to Comic-Con from opening, and if need be, I'm there till close, and that doesn't bother me as long as I get everything I want done. So 2 minutes in the middle of the day while somebody's unrolling a load of posters isn't a huge problem. When you get dealers go up, again, that can be irritating. And they've got special dispensation and they can get 20 items signed or something like that. That can be irritating because that can just take a load of time. But when it's another fan, it's irritating that they're not quite so organised, but they've got as much right to do that as you have. So, yeah, not something I'm really missing. Number 5, standing in queues and getting a poster tube or massive sword to the jaw. Don't think I've ever been... You get the odd prod as you're walking round. Don't really tend to get it in the queues. Maybe a little nudge in the back if somebody sort of turns around or something. Or a little nudge, but I've never had any major damage done. So it's not really an irritant. I mean, I'm sure... I'm a big bloke and I'm sure I can, especially as I'm rushing from one place to the other, might upset somebody by maybe just nudging them as I go past or something like that. Again, not a major irritant, I'm afraid, Craig. Number 6, rude guests. Yes, is the short answer. That is an irritant. It is something I'm not missing. I've been fortunate. I've not had many. I've got a feeling that he's sort of put this there to try and get me to respond anyway. The worst guests I've met have been David Soul. He wasn't so much rude to me, but he was rude to the person in front of me, and that sort of put me off of him. He had no signs up saying no photos or anything like that, but when the guy in front asked him for a photo, he said, "No, I don't do that." And it was the way he said it, very short, sharp, to the point. And then, I sort of went up to him, and it was very much just a case of sign and go, and he wasn't interested in conversation or anything like that. So he left a bad impression. Jimmy White had a mixed meeting with. He was sat next to Stephen Hendry and they were chatting, so I sort of didn't go straight up. I sort of held back a bit, but he sort of noticed me and turned around and took the photo of me and straight away started signing it. And I said, "Oh, can you make it to Martin?" And he sort of looked up and said, "Well, you could have said." Please, I just tried to be polite. And then after that, I think he realised he'd been a bit short with me and he was fine after that. But initially I thought, I was looking forward to meeting Jimmy White because, he's the people's champion and I always used to love seeing him on Big Break, and things like that. That's probably the two sort of worst. Other than that, Stephen Berkoff, I didn't have too bad a meeting with. He's got a reputation, and he's another one. He was chatting away to his crew member. He'd just come back from his break, and he was discussing he was being, saying, like just, discussing what happened in my break, if you see what I mean. And he was saying, he was talking to this other guy, and he's a Bond villain, and he couldn't remember his name. So at that point, I sort of interjected and say, Mads Mikkelsen. So, yes, thank you very much. And he signed my photo. Again, he didn't chat or anything like that, but he was polite, and he signed my photo, and that was it. But then photo shoot, he was there more or less as part of a Beverly Hills Cop reunion, and they did a group photo with the Beverly Hills Cop cast that were there, and then Stevens was straight afterwards. And we were waiting, they were just finishing off a group one, and we were waiting outside for our solo shots. And we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and it's going on and on and on. And you can see one of the big bosses comes, and he goes in and he's chatting to Stephen. And by now it's 15, 20 minutes. Luckily, I think he was my last shoot of the day, and I got all the autographs I needed, so I didn't have anywhere to be. So it was quite entertaining. And we're waiting, and as I say, the big boss is in there. And then finally he comes out, he says, Stephen's not feeling very well, but he's going to go ahead. We persuaded him to go ahead with the shoot, but he's going to be sitting down, and please don't get anywhere near him. So the shot is of him sitting down and us sort of stood there next to him. Social distancing, I suppose. But it wasn't that he was feeling unwell. He just didn't want to do it, basically, you could tell. So, yeah, they're sort of the worst guest experiences I had, and it is annoying because you're paying them the money. 99% of them are actors, so they can at least act like they want to be there and are pleased to see you. But by and large, I've never had any terrible experiences. Number 7, late guests. Yes, as somebody who's always early for things, any lateness annoys me. I've sort of got used to it over the years. It opens at 9. You're not going to get any autographs till at least 10 o'clock. Normally, you might be the odd one or two people who turn up early, so you might be able to grab them. But the people who tended to be on time, Jeremy Bullock was always early, and he was always sat there signing as soon as you got there. Dave Prowse the same. These are people who are now retired from the signing scene, unfortunately, but they were pros. They got there on time. They were there signing. But you get your big, especially for big stars, and they might swan in about 11 o'clock, sign for a quarter of an hour and then sod off for a break and things like that. Yes, that is annoying because it does play havoc with trying to get everybody. So yes, that is something I'm not missing. Number 8, bad sound at talks. I very, very rarely go to talks. Those that I have been to, by and large, have just been time killers. And I've never had any major sound issues. It used to be worse in Earl's Court. That used to be very echoey. And they never quite had the oomph to do it. What annoys me more is when they have... Again, it doesn't happen so much nowadays because now in Olympia it's so spread out and you've got all the different levels and everything, but it doesn't affect it so much. But certainly in Earl's Court, if they had the cosplay masquerade, is that what they call it? The parade type thing, and then the show, or they used to do displays and they'd suddenly have loud music blaring out and you'd be chatting to a guest and you couldn't hear each other because the music was so loud. That used to really irritate me. As I say, that doesn't tend to happen quite so much. But as somebody who doesn't go to many talks, it's not something that I'm not missing. Number 9, the lighting, mostly the ghastly orange light of Earl's Court. That was horrible. Used to be so difficult getting photos in there because because of the lighting, you wouldn't really want to use your flash. And it's not nice for the guests if they've continually got flash going off in their eyes. But the lighting was so bad in there that you really needed... It wasn't so bad to the naked eye, but on a camera, you'd either come out really orange or it would just be blurred. So you'd need to use your flash, so it wasn't great for photos. Again, Olympia's not quite so bad. The signing areas are by and large in decent light and don't really need to use the flash. Number 10, the prices. I'm not missing spending all that money on autographs, let me put it that way. I don't overly object to the prices. As somebody who's, got a degree in accountancy and studied economics, I understand why prices have gone up dramatically over the last 5 or 6 years. Partly it's supply and demand. More people want to come to the con. They are willing to spend the money, so they're putting the prices up because people are willing to spend that amount. They need to put the prices up to get the better guests that they're now getting. The guests are charging more because they know that people will pay that money for them to come over as well. It's all, tied in. I miss the days of being able to get, I can't remember the last time I paid £10 for a guest. And back when I started, people used to moan about that. They only used to be £5. But I think the lowest you pay nowadays is £15. Most decent guests are £50 and upwards. Middling guests are around 25. So it is a lot of money. And then what I struggle with are the diamond passes. When they were introduced, slurp, this is a rant. Diamond passes were introduced in 2015, I think it was, for the Michael J. Fox Sigourney Weaver con, London Film and Comic Con, first one at Olympia, I think it was. Might be misremembering there. And when they introduced them, they said that they were going to be for guests that they would only be able to get by paying a lot of money, and they had to cover the cost by selling these diamond passes. And certainly those early ones, you got a lot for your diamond pass. I didn't get a Michael J. Fox one, but I know they got a T-shirt, 2 photos, I think it was. Certainly one photo, might have been 2 photos, plus the guaranteed autograph, which from Michael J. Fox, I think he only did the diamond pass ones. Sigourney Weaver, I did have a diamond pass. So as well as the guaranteed autograph, I had 2 photos, one of which was exclusive to diamond pass holders, which was her with the power loader, and then there was also just a standard signed photo. But you also got a signed photo from Carrie Henn, who played Newt in Aliens, and a photo shoot with her, all covered on a diamond pass, which was great value for money. And I was happy to pay that. So that was the idea, was it was to get these big guests who they wouldn't otherwise be able to get, and to cover the costs of getting them. Now, it's basically just another tier of ticket for that guest. So any guest I think is going to be popular, they're sticking a diamond pass on them, and that's not the idea of them. So people like Robert Englund. Robert Englund has been a guest at every first Showmasters show. I'm only talking about Showmasters cons here because those are the only ones I've been to. But he was at the first Collectomania, the first London Film and Comic Con, first Birmingham Comic Con, the first Glasgow, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Cardiff, Exeter. I think he was at all of those. He was on the guest list. He goes, he's done hundreds of cons. He's been easy to meet. Now, because he's a slow signer, which he is because he likes to chat, he's a really nice guy, they stick him on a diamond pass. And that just slows everything down, because all the diamond passes have to go and get their autograph, more or less, before they will open up to the general public. And it's just greed, really, to be honest. They're just trying to... They charge that little bit extra, again, because the cost of the diamond passes as well. Back, when they were introduced, it was basically the cost of all those added together individually. I think even the Sigourney Weaver worked out a little bit cheaper buying the diamond passes than if assuming the cost of a photo shoot that was exclusive was the same. I think it worked out £10 or £20 cheaper, sort of buying them all together. Now, it's sort of the cost of everything altogether, plus £30 or £40 on top, which technically includes a little gift, but they're better than they used to be. You used to just get a poster. Now you get a physical object, a mug or a USB stick or something like that that's connected to the person. But you're paying this premium on top just for the guarantee. And it's just, as I say, it's just a way. You either find that they get through the diamond passes so quick but it's easy to get them anyway and you've saved you all that money. Or you might not want a photo with them, but you're having to pay for a photo or a talk. Again, the number of talks that I've paid for but not been interested in going to, but I've had to pay for as part of a diamond pass because I want to guarantee meeting the guests. It's just, if they'd stuck to the original intention and just use them for the really big guests as a way of guaranteeing to get them over, then that would be great. But now it's just basically a priority ticket for that guest, which is not what they said they would be. So those are the prices that I object to. There was one that I managed to rant about. So yes, those are the 10 things Craig's not missing about Comic-Con. Only 2 or 3 of them that really I agree with. But, you know, that's personal. I know Craig won't be upset by that. Craig's a top guy and, you know, he will happily accept that we will have slightly different opinions on these things. I can't think of anything that I would add to that list. As I say, you know, it's not really much. What I don't miss about Comic-Con is getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to commute to London over 3 days, standing on my feet all day, hanging around. One thing that really does, actually, one thing I'm not missing about Comic-Cons is all the guests going on lunch at the same time. Fine, they have to have a break, they have to have their lunch, I understand that, but stagger it. You know, have some going maybe from 11:30 to 12:30, some from 12 to 1, one from 12:30 to 1:30. Don't have them all going at 12 o'clock or at 1 o'clock or whatever time it is. And so you've got nothing to do. It makes the day harder to get everything done. If they stagger it, you've got more chance of getting people. You know, that hour, you know, you might want to eat for 10 minutes, but you're not going to take an hour lunch break. So yes, you end up wandering around the stalls, but if they'd staggered it, there'd still be people there who you could go and get. So that's one thing I'm really not missing. As I say, just for hanging around and standing on your feet and getting up early and getting in late and being knackered for a week afterwards. That's the only things I'm really not missing about Comic-Con. When Comic-Cons come back, am I going to be going to them? It's going to depend who they have as guests. I haven't really, despite everything I've said, I've not really missed Comic-Con this year. There were some good guests lined up for it, and I'm gutted that I'm not going to meet them, but if they, you know, that's sort of the only bit I now enjoy about Comic-Con is the 2 minutes where I meet each guest. There's, you know, it's nice to bump into people who I've come to know through the con scene and from these videos and what have you. It's always nice to see them and have a chat. That's part of it as well. But, you know, I go to meet the celebrities and all the bits in between I really don't miss, and spending the money on it I don't miss. As I don't object to the actual prices, it's just that it is a lot of money to spend. Nobody's forcing me to spend it, so there you go. I hope that makes sense. Thank you for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks. Oh, thanks Craig. Thanks. Bye.